Well, the colder weather calls for a hot fire, but basketball right now is our desire here on this web edition of Cuse Countdown. Alongside Bacaj and Gabe Altieri, I'm Mark Sell, and it's great to have you with us. And Syracuse is feeling great after its 62-49 win over San Diego State on Sunday. But first of all, how cool was it to just see basketball played outdoors for a change?
Like nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, it was awesome to watch that game, but I can guarantee you San Diego State didn't like playing in that game.
No, and we saw a couple aircraft carrier games around the country have to get shut down. See how often they do this anymore.
Well, what got shut down on the court was San Diego State shooting. The Aztecs shot 27% against SU in the loss. Now, was that a factor of SU's 2-3 zone defense or those windy conditions?
It was the windy conditions. I mean, Syracuse at least kept those shots to the outside, but I mean, those shots from the outside weren't going in because of the wind. You saw it in the pregame shots on TV. A ball that was just going, straight in, which you would expect it to go straight in, was blowing a mile wide and airballing. You just couldn't deal with that wind.
Nah, definitely. It had to be the windy conditions, especially considering San Diego State was one of the best teams in the country last year in three-point percentage. They made over 34% of their shots.
And moving quickly here on Rapid Fire, Michael Carter-Williams, a big day in his first career start, 17 points. Is this a foreshadowing of what we're going to see this year?
Oh, I think so. I mean, and you got to look at his size. He has the perfect size for a point guard. He has those long Rondo-like arms, and they really are going to benefit him. He's going to be a fantastic player this year. Only a sophomore, too, so if he decides to stay for more years at Syracuse, he could really be
Now,
good.
you mentioned Rajon Rondo. He's pretty big when it comes to dishing the ball. I don't know if Carter-Williams is going to get to that point, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, that's still a mile away. I mean, he's only a sophomore in college. He's not an NBA vet right here. But Carter-Williams is definitely going to build on this performance and have a great season.
And Wagner, real quick, it won a school record 25 games last year. SU coming back on the East Coast. You think they're going to be a potential letdown on Sunday for the Cuse?
I don't know. Syracuse did have a week off in between these games to, at least rest, get back healthy again. And as we saw, Wagner already 0-1 on the season. I don't know if they'll pose a great challenge.
No, and I don't think so because of the Carrier Dome. The Carrier Dome's a very tough place to play. It's SU's first game there. Not going to be easy.
Well, this isn't necessarily, like you guys said, Wagner's not necessarily that cupcake program that SU is going to be dealing with. So let's take a closer look at Wagner College overall. Now, it's a small school out in Staten Island in general, enrollment at 2,100. But as for the program, here's a notable guy that used to be there in '76 when the program started. Brooklyn Nets assistant coach P.J. Carlissimo used to be the head coach starting in '76. Fast forwarding to today, 4 starters are back from last year's squad, including leading scorer Lateef Rivers. He's coming off a season where he averaged more than 14.5 points per game. And the big highlight from a year ago, that upset win over Pittsburgh. It was the program's first victory over a ranked team in 33 years. So now it's time to take to social media and see what the fans want to hear about. Now, Robert, I know that you are a Twitter expert and you're always out there nonstop. You're always clogging up our feed. So let's take a look and see what people want to hear us talk about now. First topic, Syracuse number 8 right now after the win over San Diego State. Is this the right spot for the Cuse?
No, it's way too low. They got to get bumped up. I mean, you look at teams above them already losing. Number 3, Kentucky has gone down. Syracuse started off strong, big win over a ranked opponent, and I think that they've got to be moved up.
I agree. I think they're a top 5 team, to be quite honest with you. We saw it especially against San Diego State with how many players they used. 9 players got into that game. If they continue to play 9 players consistently, watch out.
And another tweet coming in right now here on Cuse Countdown. CJ Fair, he had the big game against San Diego State as well. 17 points. Is Fair this year's Dion Waiters?
I think so. He's poised for a breakout year, and you saw, and the good thing was it looked like he was embracing it when it came to the game against San Diego State. A double-double in that one, 17 points. The way he was attacking the basket in there is scary. If he can attack the basket like that all season long, once again, fantastic year set up for him.
In terms of being a good player, yes, he could be Dion Waiters. But no, this is a completely different situation. Dion Waiters came off the bench. Right now, CJ Fair is a starter. He's going to start every single game. They play different positions. I just don't think you can compare the two guys. Completely different situations.
Now, a lot of guys are excited about Trevor Cooney coming into this year, in addition to some of the other freshmen like Dajuan Coleman. So our next tweet coming in, is Trevor Cooney going to play more this season? I mean, he had 4 minutes against San Diego State.
Well, this season, yes, but looking specifically at this game against Wagner, no, he's not, yes, he is going to play a lot more than he did against San Diego State because it's a weaker opponent. On the season, though, once it gets into those big games towards the stretch, I think you got a sneak peek of it. He's only going to play limited minutes. He's not going to get significant action.
Now, I know it's always hard to tell with Boeheim. on how much he's going to play these freshmen, especially, he doesn't really care too much about their confidence or anything like that early on. But I think Trevor Cooney will play a decent amount in this game because they're back in the Dome. He didn't play much on the aircraft carrier because of those conditions we mentioned earlier, but now that he's back in the Dome, the fans are going to want to see what he can do.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what will happen for him in the Dome opener again for Syracuse on Sunday against the Seahawks. So what are your X factors for the matchup?
I'm going with Rakeem Christmas because you look at his performance that he had last game. 6 blocks, 5 rebounds, or excuse me, 6 rebounds, 5 blocks. He had a great game down low, and I don't think Wagner has anybody that big or anyone that good in the paint to match a performance like what Rakeem Christmas is going to bring on defense for Syracuse in this one.
Well, Mark, you mentioned the Dome opener. That's it. It's the Carrier Dome. It's the first
Can't
game
beat it,
back
right?
at home. And SU is going to be pumped for this one. They had that aircraft carrier thing that everybody's been talking about all year out of the way. Now it's back in their place against a clearly inferior opponent like Wagner. That team's going to be intimidated going into this place. The Syracuse has all the momentum in their favor.
And now Syracuse hasn't lost a non-conference game in more than 4 years. Is that streak going to continue on Sunday? What are your predictions?
Yes, it is. 79-62 Syracuse. Wagner's a pretty good team, You saw last year, you already mentioned, Mark, that win over Pittsburgh, but I just don't see that happening. In the Carrier Dome opener against a great Orange team, I just don't think there's any way you can pick against the Orange in this game.
Well, Robert, I'm not too far off from you. I'm going 84-58, and it's because of the reasons I was mentioning earlier. The Dome is the first game back in the Dome. Those guys are going to be pumped to play there. You mentioned a guy like Trevor Cooney. If he can get in the action, get hot. There's no answer that Wagner has for some of these players. SU's going to not have problems.
Taco time for those fans in the Dome,
There
if
you go.
either of us are right.
That's right.
Well, I think it's going to be taco time in the Dome once again. I like Syracuse winning this game as well, 82-65. Wagner got to the semifinals of the NEC tournament last year. They're not a team to be taken lightly, and as of now, that's all the time we have here on this online edition of Cuse Countdown. And hey, like we said, make sure you follow our tweets before and during the game at CitrusTV Sports, and don't forget to check out all of our content online at sportsblog.citrustv.net. For Robert and Gabe, I'm Mark. Enjoy your basketball, Syracuse.